The views and opinions expressed on this program do not reflect the company, owners, management, staff, clients, or partners.
Greetings and welcome to another episode of Bermuda's Feel Good Early Morning Show. Good day, Bermuda, supported by Pete's House and Aliana's Restaurant. I'm Terri Tuku alongside Jackie Lambert, and we want to thank you for getting up bright and early with us today. Jack, tell the audience how you're feeling on this Tuesday morning.
I am so tired. So, full disclosure, I have a pup. Came home last night from work and I thought she had done a great job. Took her for a walk. She used the bathroom. I came back and I was just like, what is that? So I went and I was following my nose and I looked at her bed and she had made a mess in her bed. And I was just like, wow, you keep doing this. And I've realized it's her way of making sure that she can sleep in the bed with me. She's not a dumb dog. But when she sleeps in the bed with me, I have like this much space and she has the whole rest of the bed and she sleeps up next to me all night. So I had no sleep because every time I wanted to get up and roll over, I'd have to get up out my bed, lift her, move her over, and then jump in bed before she rushes back to the spot because now she's playtime. And then it's like an hour to get her to settle back down and go sleep. So I'm pretty sure I've had like 45 minutes of sleep.
Oh my goodness. I do not envy you as a puppy parent right now. And I think that sounds very similar to what most parents deal with when their child is in their bed as well. They take up all of the space and they get an amazing sleep while the parent is looking at them like
so energetic right now on the couch. I'm sure we're going to end up hearing her whine or bark or something. But I'm sitting here like, where's all the Red Bull?
Despite Jackie's nighttime was, we're definitely still going to bring you some feel good vibes this morning. So if you haven't already, please make sure you go ahead and share this episode wherever you're watching, whether you're on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter. Make sure you react to this episode by giving us a like, run up those reactions on Facebook, and give us some hearts on Twitter. Today's feel good topic of the day, we're talking about drinking cultures that surrounds sporting events. You know, we have a few on island that tend to have a very vibrant drinking culture, shall we say. So we're definitely going to dive into that conversation in today's show. And later on, you're going to get a chance to test your knowledge against Jackie during our Feel Good Vibe of the day, which is trivia time with Terry. But to get you warmed up for today's show, we have a question of the morning for you. And we want to know, how do you feel about sitcom spinoffs? So we saw that Fresh Prince of Bel-Air is going to have a remix, so to speak, because it's literally the exact same show with just new characters. And one of the original characters, Will Smith, is the executive producer of this sitcom spinoff. But we want to know, how do you guys feel about it? And Jackie, Jason, Shirley knows how you're feeling with respect to your pet.
Am I being a bad parent, letting her sleep in the bed with me? But she barked for like a good 15 minutes. And I was just like, you have to sleep on the floor. You're naughty. And I was just like, okay, I'm just going to have to sacrifice it because I need sleep. And then I still got no sleep.
And you still got no sleep. So you probably should just let us sleep on the floor.
Anyway, back to my opinion. So when we first showed it to me, I was like all excited because I thought it was going to be a movie, or maybe they were going to make it into movies. So I was excited. But then when I actually watched it again all the way to the end, that last part says series. But then, of course, I hear Will Smith with the, remake of the music to go with it. It seems a little dark. And of course, they were saying that Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, I think, was based off of like semi parts of his life. I don't know.
Oh yeah, the original was definitely based on his
so I'm wondering if
story.
Now that we're older, our generation that grew up watching it, now that we're older, maybe he's giving more of a realistic version versus the happy, playful, jokey joke version that we grew up watching. Like, this is actually what I went through. So I'm still excited for it, but like I said, it's mixed emotions because, I mean, they took the original off of Netflix while my Netflix doesn't have it. So
yeah, it's on HBO.
I'm like, and I don't have.
Well, and that's kind of
I
like
don't have the VPN yet.
Yeah, that's part of the issue because it's no longer accessible to the rest of us outside of the US. We'll call it that. And so you do kind of lose that nostalgic element of it. I actually haven't even finished the series because it's like years. It's seasons. I think it was like 8 seasons.
17 episodes. I mean, seasons, I swear. It was so long. But
each I think we both jinx each other like, okay, I'll let you go. No, I'll let you go.
No, I finished my sentence. My sentence. I enjoyed it.
It's interesting though because the original had like, it's like 17 plus 20 plus episodes per season, which is very abnormal for a season. However, when it comes to the spin-off, as Jackie mentioned, I watched the trailer as well for it. So we're talking about the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and the fact that they're actually going to have, it's more like a sequel. It's not really a spin-off. It's more like a sequel. And the reason why he goes to Philadelphia is completely different from what the original reason why he went to Philadelphia was. It's still kind of the same basketball court fight, but there's an additional element to it, which if you haven't watched the trailer, we'll go ahead and share that with you on our social media so that you can watch it. But if there's a moment where Will's character shoots a gun in the air and gets arrested. And then there's like some guy from Philadelphia that's trying to find him and take him out or something like that. So it is very realistic, as Jackie mentioned, versus what you are used to from the original series. So I think in that respect, I'm okay with this sequel, but I would have preferred to see a continuation of the original with the original characters and like them being older and it's now their kids navigating adolescence. But
I'm definitely
I'm okay.
I'm gonna give it a try because finding out, like you said, the executive producer is Will Smith, it definitely makes you feel better because I'm just like, wow, they're just gonna do all of this. That's so disrespectful. I do have an issue because I was an Uncle Phil fan. I actually met him in real life. He's the exact same type of person. Basically his character. He tried to be Uncle Phil to me, and I'm just like, oh wait, you're actually this person.
You didn't really act. It was actually.
Yeah, this is how you are. You're a parent to everybody. You put everybody in their place. Yes, motivational conversations, everything.
Love it.
And so to see who's playing his character, like not who the person is, but what they look like. It's not the big guy. He's not fluffy and snuggly like a big teddy bear. So I was just like, but like I said, I'm gonna give it a try because the trailer looks butt.
The trailer, honestly, like Jackie mentioned, I actually thought it was a movie trailer as well until I got to the end and I realized no, it's actually a series, which is also great. And one thing too about Uncle Phil, like there are similarities to the original cast and some of their kind of dynamics, and then there's complete differences. So even now in the trailer, you'll see Uncle Phil doing like a stroll with his fraternity brothers, which I don't know if Uncle Phil originally was a fraternity bro or not, but the fact that he's actually doing strolling, which kind of lends itself more to the millennial experience when you even think about college, or even when you look at your uncles and your aunts, they are, if they're Greek, they're Greek and they're going to show you that they're Greek. So I think that was also an interesting twist and an interesting addition because like Jackie said, it's giving you more of a realistic Fresh Prince of Bel-Air experience for those of us that, not only grew up with it, but have kind of had life experiences since then. And we're like, that actually is it a representation of our full experience as a Black family. Yeah. So I'm appreciative of that. I want to come to some comments. It looks like we have Karen Simmons. Good morning to you, Karen. Thank you for joining us. Let us know in the comments how you feel about TV sitcoms having spinoffs and or sequels, because the Fresh Prince is actually technically going to be like a sequel, but there are some shows that have done spinoffs, like the Cosby Show. Their spinoff was A Different World, where the oldest daughter went off to college, Hillman College, for those of you that don't know. So that was kind of an interesting. I think back then it was cool.
Yeah.
To do spinoffs.
I
Because
think
like the
it's just
story
because
carried.
we feel very territorial when it comes to certain sitcoms. Like we all felt like that family was our family. Uncle Phil was
Exactly.
our uncle. Viv, we do her dances when she did the ballet and like not the ballet, the hip hop that class. We were
Mm-hmm.
rooting for her, even though she was exhausted afterwards. Like we
Yeah,
became
yeah.
so involved and invested in that this feels like a slight betrayal, but at the same time, I'll give it a chance because the main character that was in it is behind the scenes directing. So
Exactly. And I come on,
nobody has enough power to keep it on the
keep
same.
it authentic. And I
Yeah.
think that's kind of what you were getting at, when like it seems like someone that's not associated with the original creation or project, it feels like you're taking a completely different direction,
He
which
could have just not touched it.
should have left it alone.
Yeah.
So when it comes to this comment from Jody Brush, she says, morning all, she will have to see the trailer though to get a real sense, because she earlier said, I prefer the continuation vibe too. In my mind, this sounds like a whole different movie.
Mm-hmm.
To be very frank, it is going to be a completely different Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. It's not the same at all. Like I haven't even seen any one person that, but so far this is just trailer, right? But I haven't seen any person from the original cast even make a cameo in this. And I think Jeffrey is not even British. He's like from the Caribbean, from what I could tell.
And
It sounds like his accent was like from the Caribbean. He
yeah.
definitely looked much younger. He looked more like Uncle Phil's age, which, and that's not to say the original Jeffrey technically wasn't supposed to be around his age. It's definitely a younger Uncle Phil, Uncle Viv vibe. And then even though Will and Hillary and everyone else looks like they're their original ages, so to speak, if I feel like the authority figures are younger.
Yeah.
From what I could see. We could be completely wrong. They could be like, no, these are technically supposed to be the same ages. They just look different. This is the 2000s. This is the 2000s.
Okay.
Karen Simmons says she doesn't mind a spinoff based on the original, which I think is a good thing too. When you, like Jackie said, when you give, I guess, the flowers and you allow them to kind of have the same type of show, then I think it's also good. It's just those moments where they come and they just inject themselves into something that didn't need them at all.
Like as I said, I've got mixed feelings about it, because watching the trailer, because it seems like it almost seems like it's darker, right?
It is. Even the effects and the filters that they use, it makes the scenes look darker. Whereas in the 90s, everything was bright and airy and vibrant.
Yeah, so it just feels like drama.
It does feel like a drama
versus a fun
series.
sitcom. This seems like a drama sitcom. So, for example, the Archie comic books that ended up turning into Riverdale. Riverdale was way darker than the Archie comic books that I grew up reading. So I remember watching it and being like, wow, who knew Jughead was this deep into being a like gangster?
I need to watch, because I've only ever read the comics. I haven't watched Riverdale. So I'm gonna see it too. And I think that's another type of spin-off, not necessarily a TV sitcom, but a spin-off of a comic, and how they take their interpretation of what they read and bring it to life and add some things, because you can only get so much out of a comic book and you can only keep it so similar before it gets boring.
But it's almost like watching like something with the Wayans brothers. The Wayans brothers, they typically will tell the story of what they're going through, what Black people have gone through in their life, but they make it funny. So it's like a more palatable delivery. Like, digest it better, because at least it's got the comic relief. Whereas this doesn't seem like it has too much comic relief. It's very, very realistic to what Black people in Philly, in the ghetto, have to deal with. Like, they're fighting for their lives and they're giving Will another chance. And like I said, it's cool if this is like, if Will sits down and tells us this is actually how it was supposed to be, but we just, because it was back in the day, we just want to make it lighter, because back couldn't be dark and be like, this is what Black people go through, because 90% of the world's gonna be like, I'm not watching that. That's
too heavy.
Whereas now we're very much like, nope, this is exactly how it is, and this is how you're going to take it. And more people are like the drama and the darkness anyway. So maybe.
I also think because there's more of us in the rooms to make these decisions, it's probably allowing them this creative control to kind of say, okay, let's take something that we started or did back 2 decades ago, 3 decades ago now, and let's bring it to life. And so let's re-bring it to life or breathe new life into it, excuse me. Jody Berger says, I do get the idea of making it more in tune with current realities. I would check it out. And I think that's kind of what we're getting at. It's definitely going to feel more real. And then Karen Simmons goes on to say she'll need to watch the trailer. Janae hasn't seen this trailer, so we'll definitely make sure if you're not already following us on Facebook and Twitter that you do follow us, because we'll go ahead and drop the link. Oh, and we can put it on Instagram too now, because Instagram gives everybody the link option. You don't have to have 10,000 followers or more, so you can see it on Instagram as well. And one final comment before we get to our first commercial break, Jack.
Riverdale was a letdown for me based on nostalgia of reading the comic books that I read for years. Yeah. It ended up becoming something to watch, and I just needed to finish it because I had started it. It was one of those cases. I must have watched the first 2 seasons, and I was just like, what is happening? And then I must have stopped for like 2 years, and people told me that it was starting to get good again. So I was like, okay, let me go watch. And my sister, we all grew up watching, reading the comic books, passing them down, passing them around. So I was just like, I remember going to my sister Tara and being like, was it always this dark? Like, it's dark. Even the scenes are like at night and just, yeah.
It was a lot. Jacky and I are going to take our first commercial break, and then we'll be back with our feel-good topic of the day. We're talking about drinking culture at sporting events. That is a conversation you do not want to miss, so make sure you stick around. Jacky and I will be right back.
Same smooth sounds, different name. BCG Radio, home of Bermuda's most engaging morning talk shows, The Daily Hour and Good Day Bermuda. Download the app, available for Android and Apple devices. BCG Radio, your station for conversations and entertainment.
Welcome back to Good Day Bermuda, supported by Pizza House and Aliana's Restaurant. I'm Terry Tuku alongside Jacky Lambert. If you're just joining us, please take a minute to share this episode wherever you're watching, whether you're on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter. Get the conversation around to your audience, because Jacky and I are about to transition to our feel-good topic of the day. We are discussing drinking culture at sporting events, and we just want to start this off because, Bermudians love to drink. We want to know, just right off the bat, quick yes or no, do you think we can enjoy sports without alcohol as spectators? So can you or your family or someone you know go to any sporting event and just enjoy it? Don't have to go get a drink, don't have to bring a drink, don't have to go out and come back after having a drink. Do you think it's possible for us to go to sporting events and not drink, not consume alcohol?
Absolutely. No, I'm just joking. Yes, I can. I'm just joking. I've done it.
I was not expecting that.
I've done it. I've gone to games and people are just like, you want to drink? I'm like, nah, I'm straight. Or bring me a water, please. Thanks. And I don't have to sometimes I have to explain, like, you're not having a drink. You don't want to have a drink with me. And I'm like, no, I've been playing tennis all day. I need to hydrate, unless you want to sit here and carry my cramping self back. But I'm not drinking. And it's super easy.
To follow up on that, and I'll get to the audience comments, but what Jacky just mentioned, I also want the audience to talk about as well. Do you think we can do it without asking people why they're not drinking? Like, do you think we can just allow people to do it? So before you go on, Jack, I wanted to bring in the audience, because basically everyone's saying yes, it is something that we can do. So audience, do you think we can do it without creating a sense of peer pressure by asking a question, oh, why you're not drinking? Like, go ahead, Jack.
I think so, but I think it's like a knee-jerk reaction because we're so used to everybody being like, yeah, I'll have a drink. Yeah, you're buying cool, I'll have a drink. Like, it's like going to somebody's house and like, do you want a glass of water? It's almost like being polite and saying yes. You don't know how to say no in the sense that we're not hurting somebody's feelings. But 9 times out of 10, I'm like, nah, I'm straight. And then they'll be like, it's more like concern, like, you're right.
Right.
Like, okay. And I'm like, yeah, I just don't feel like drinking. They're like, all right, cool. And they go with the bit. It's only a few people that are like, you're being a mug. I'm like, I absolutely am mug. Who told you I wasn't?
Like, what lie? Whoever you met earlier that you thought was not mug?
Lame.
Been a lame. Man, she put the L up. I do think that we can go to sporting events and not drink. I do feel like even though it is a knee-jerk reaction, it may be out of concern. I feel like that part of it does make it so that people will just change their mind really quickly and okay, I'll have a drink, or okay, I'll partake in whatever the extracurriculars are without really thinking about it's okay to say it's okay to not be or to be at a sporting event and not drink. Like it's okay to have that decision. I feel like because we kind of anticipate that someone's going to ask why, we already have this weak boundary around not drinking. So I agree with everyone that I think it's something we can enjoy without drinking, but I do feel like that follow-up question can always add a little bit of, okay, well, I guess I will. And we'll talk about, what happens after the yes, I will a little bit later on. Carlton Fleming says it's a crime to say no if asked. And let's talk about that. Why is there so much personal investment if you ask someone, do they want to drink, and they say no? Why do you now feel personally attacked?
I mean, because one of our national anthems is Bermudians love to drink. Bermudians love to drink. And there's nothing else to do in Bermuda. There is, but our sorry, our scope is like this big of things that we can do. Because we're not creative. Like most of the time, it's just like, let's have a drink, let's sit off, let's shoot the breeze and have a conversation. That's fun, but what do? You typically have a few beers around or whatever, and you just sit there and you sip. Not all the time do you get drunk, but it's like women that go and hang out with their friends and like, let's have a glass of wine or a bottle of wine. Sometimes it's not to get drunk. It's just an adult beverage.
To have something to do.
For me, sometimes I enjoy the taste of a Malbec. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I'll be like, yeah, I can go for a glass of Malbec and that's it. It doesn't mean that I want to go and turn the tail out of it and get completely plastered. But that's a competition in itself as well. I mean, how many people can go to a sporting event where it's a competition and not turn drinking into a competition as well?
Exactly. So it's like they kind of go hand in hand, i.e. if you do drink or if you're at the sporting event, you do want to be a part of the competition.
And it's universal.
Even though you're not on the field.
You'll go to a football game, say Manchester, and what's the first thing you do? You grab a bunch of beers and you sit off and you cheer and you end up taking your shirt off and you have a good time. It's a rager, but that's the culture throughout the world when it comes to sporting events.
Oh, absolutely. And so I want to come to some comments before we switch to our next question. So Jody Virgil says, yes, I think we can. However, we have a strong culture that normalizes and celebrates drinking. People have to have a very confident sense of self to be fine to say no. And I think that's kind of what we're getting at too. Yeah. It's like that idea of once you say no, it's it. No is a full sentence. It is a very valid response. And you don't have to explain yourself, even if they ask you a question after the fact. If they have a follow-up, it's okay to just say,
I don't even say anything. I got my face still. I'm like, no, I'm fine. You really not drinking?
Yep. Nonverbal language can definitely help.
You don't speak. So we don't speak English now.
And speaking of that national anthem, Jackie, Janae continues the lyric, any occasion is the persuasion Bermudians love to drink. And I think that's so interesting that it's literally, we've talked about it before, like, baby shower, child's not even born yet, or a baby's first birthday, and we're having drinks.
Talking about that, I have posted save the date for September 5th. That is Star's birthday. So I was just like, oh, it's my pop's birthday. I'm going to throw a birthday. It's going to be, because her name's Star. A star was born, and you guys can come and have some cake, and she'll have her cake done. And somebody actually hit me back and was just like, make sure you have an adult human beverage section. And I was just like, y'all like to find any reason to drink. You wake up, drink.
Literally. And Drake said it too in one of the songs, like you can, something about starting to drink early in the day. I forgot the lyric at this point.
Yeah, drink all day if you don't start first thing in the morning.
I was like, if culture needed any other lyric, to kind of continue the plight of drinking whenever they feel like it. Thank you, Drake. Like, we thank you.
It's the most legal drug out there that you can abuse, and people don't get upset with you too much. They don't look down at you. You can go, like, if you was to sit at a football game and smoke weed and you're just like vibing by yourself, most putt heads or whatever, just sitting there. They're not bothering nobody. But add alcohol and the wrong combination, now it's a fight.
So but
we don't look down on that. They're like, they're just drunk. And then you're sitting on the corner, oh, are you high?
Mm-hmm.
Why are you high? You don't, it's just like, I'm not bothering nobody. I'm in my own little bubble, my own little world. I move slow. I speak to everybody. But the other person that's drunk, that's cursing everybody out, pushing people to get back to the bar when they don't need more, you don't look down on them.
It's very interesting. We're actually going to talk about that shortly. And I want to come to some comments before we transition. JD Vargas says global media is also part of that pressure. It's portrayed as this is what we do. And that's even kind of what the song technically does as well, saying like, bring yourself to drink any occasion is the persuasion, like just continuing the narrative of like, well, this is normal for us. So if you don't do it, you're not normal or you're not a part of the group. And, groupthink is a really big thing that kind of, like Jacky mentioned, causes additional issues that we don't look down upon because that is part of the norm. And then Jason Shirley says, and then outside of the game, so if so-and-so scores, you have a shot. If my team wins, you have a shot. And the list of reasons why you have a shot go on and on and on and on.
The party doesn't stop there. It's not like, oh, the game's over, the club's closing down, time to go home. It's just like, where are we going to see next? Where's the next spot? We're going to calls. We're going to like Bay Club, Boat Club. We're going to Iraq. Like where we're going, and it's just like home.
Good. I want to go home. I'm gonna go to bed. All this liquor is now made me sleepy.
That.
So Janae says, I don't know if it's because I've been in Canada so long, but drinking doesn't move me. I've had my fun with drinking. Now just thinking about it makes me sick. Does Canada not have a drinking culture around their sports, or is it just that because you maybe didn't go to those sporting events, you weren't immersed in that kind of culture? Because I wonder if, it is definitely cultural, but then nationally, like how is it in certain places? Because we know the US and we know the UK, they definitely drink when it comes to sports. But like, I've never been to Canada to see a sporting event to know if it's like ingrained in their sports cultures, like how it is here at the UK and the US, or if it's just like, you do it if you feel like it. Or I would be really interested because I've never been, like I said, I've never been to a Canadian.
I don't know. I have Canadian friends and they drink, but when they've been to Bermuda, they're just like, you're on a different level. Like,
so let's transition, because I know we wanted to talk about, our community clubs and the fact that they have bars. So I think we kind of can understand which sports do and don't have bars at the community club. So we'll kind of just encompass it in this question. What are some of the pros and cons of having a bar at a community club? And I wanted to bring that in because Jason Shirley had mentioned how clubs have the bell at the end of the bar. And there's always one person, yes, there's always that one guy that wants to keep ringing that bell and be ringing it multiple times. And so let's talk about that. Like, what are the pros and cons about having a bar at a community club?
It pays all their light bills. No, seriously, like thinking about that bell, the amount of times I've almost fallen out of my chair because I'm trying to get out the chair and not be at the bar so I don't get the shot. And they don't care. They'll be like, nah, Jack, I don't care what part of the bar you're in. If I ring the bell, you're getting a shot. And I'm just like, well, I'm leaving. I'm going home because now you've torn it so much that I'm leaving. But like the pros are, they're spending so much money that this goes back to the kids community, like classes, whatever the community clubs do around their community. It definitely goes to good use for the most part. But cons?
Yeah, and actually, before you go to the cons, so Janae brings in a good point. She said it helps the clubs to make money while there are no games. They can also host non-sporting events. And so non-sporting events that possibly could or desire an alcohol adult beverage section. So yeah, definitely revenue and income is probably the biggest pro for them. But I think another pro, before we switch to cons, and if you have some cons, do drop them in the comments. I think another pro is that element of socialization and that community aspect, that team building, if it's for a sporting team, or just even, the sporting team kind of being mixed and mingled with the community itself.
Yeah.
Because we joke about it. I've joked about it before, talking about Dante Leverrock being like a local celebrity, and even Nikki Wells and people like that. Like, we talk about, this local celebrity idea, but it is actually a thing. Like, people do look at players on these different football teams as somewhat of a celebrity. Jacky and Gavin talked about it being tennis pros, and like having their students and even people just watching them playing tennis, having this sense of, wow, that's Jackie Lambert. She has like all of these trophies and titles that she's won playing tennis. And they do have some level of esteem for folks. So just to be able to see them in your community club, recognizing that they're a human being just like you, who also likes Coronas or who also likes Hennessy. So it's like, there's that element as well.
Agreed.
So I want to hear your con, because I feel like, we could probably have a laundry list of cons. But what's one con that you could think of?
The violence that comes with people that get too drunk. Because you start to lose control, right? You either black out, whatever the case may be. If you can't handle your liquor, if you don't know what your limit is, it can hit you fast. And if you have no control, you bump into somebody that doesn't know you. They don't know what the situation is, and now it's a fight. That could be very dangerous.
While you're thinking, I
was just like, we've lost a lot of lives to these fights where alcohol is involved.
Absolutely. And I actually wanted to bring in this comment because Janae kind of was on the same wave as you. She said, well, the cons are getting the wrong crowd there and certain activities happening that then become associated with the club. And that's kind of, I wanted to bring that in because I knew that's kind of where you were going with it, because you do end up getting a stigma associated with your club if something happens, whether it's on your grounds or on your grounds inside, or just on your grounds, like the parking lot, or like just the building is the nearest landmark. And so that's what people associate the incident with, but it's not necessarily associated with you, your club, or anything of that sort. And I do want to bring in this comment from Karen Simmons. If you want to read it, Jack.
The community clubs were developed initially to support community initiatives, sports, youth programs, adult activities, but the bar became a moneymaker and the initial purpose was lost. I don't think it was lost. I think it was just put on the back burner. I think it's there, but it's not the priority anymore.
I think part of it too, as someone who's part of a community club, full disclosure, I am the secretary of Hamilton Parish Recommends Club. I think part of it is the lack of documentation. And I talk about this in just about all aspects of my life, even at work. I talk about when we don't have documentation, it's very difficult for someone to come in and understand the purpose of something, the goal of it, what it was initially created for, and how do we carry on that legacy. And this is nothing against anyone that started a community club or that's a founding member of a community club. However, it is difficult for people that maybe didn't grow up in the community club to kind of have these conversations, to know, okay, this is how it always worked. This is why we started it. And, that's the reason why this exists. It becomes very challenging for those people to get together and try to figure out how do we take it to the next level, and how do we remove some of the antisocial behavior that has now become attached to the club due to lack of resources, due to lack of people not being able to kind of stay on board, or, and if the main resource is bar revenue, it gets very difficult to convince people to find another way to earn revenue. No excuses, absolutely no excuses, because it definitely is. But I definitely think the community aspect needs to come back, and people need to be more encouraged to support their community club outside of just the bar.
I wonder, because I've never seen it. Maybe I've walked past it and not even noticed it. But do these clubs have their mission statements where you can see it? Because, like, for example, when we go to Marilyn's for Pearl, before you walk in the door, her
house rules,
right? Her house rules are right there, and I'm just wondering, can they adopt that into their
I think it would be a great practice. It's definitely something that we're trying to get sorted out at our club. I haven't been to many other clubs recently to confirm, or just say like, yeah, I remember seeing it at the Rack, or I remember seeing it at Rangers. Like, I can't say with full confidence, but if anyone is watching that has been to any other community clubs and has seen that, do let us know, because I think, to your point, Jackie, it kind of reinforces and subliminally, it's like, you know, when you say mantras and affirmation, we talked about being Mary Jane the other day, when you see those words every single time you step in or step out of a club, it reminds you
only
what
because
the purpose is.
Yeah, only because I was thinking about the movie, because we're talking about Will Smith. It's called Focus, where it's all about gambling. Not gambling, sorry. All about, well, yeah, gambling is one of the parts, one of the scenes where I'm actually getting to, where they wanted him to pick, I think it was like 55 for the bet. So they had put 55 everywhere, and the music that he was playing in his apartment was 55. So like you're talking about subliminal messaging. If you put that around, you're going to end up looking at it and being like, oh, what's that? And then next thing you know, you look somewhere else. There's going to be, you know, positive affirmations about what the community is about all around, versus you have the people that are already volunteering that know what's happening. But what about the other people that are coming into that community? For myself, like if I go to Rangers, I don't know everybody at Rangers, but I'm going there for a drink. And then I sit down and I'm like, oh, wow, their purpose and their mission statement is everywhere. So when the kids come and they see it, and just positive reinforcement about what the club actually is there for.
Exactly. And so as we wrap up, Janae says the Anytime Youth Academy, they have their mission statement right on their training gear. So they're starting it from young. I think it's a great idea. And I think anyone, like I'm taking this advice, and anyone else that's associated with a community club, definitely as often and as frequently and wherever you can, you should definitely put up your mission, because it's one of those things that could potentially help get rid of some of the issues that you're facing and make it a little bit easier for people to kind of buy into whatever it is you're doing, and get back to the original purpose of community clubs, which was to support the working class at the end of the day. So Jackie and I are going to take our second commercial break, and then we'll be back with our Feel Good Vibe of the day. I am going to test your trivia knowledge against Jackie, so make sure you do not go anywhere. I got 3 questions. Hopefully they're not too difficult, but we'll see how this goes.
Same smooth sounds, different name. BCG Radio, home of Bermuda's most engaging morning talk shows, The Daily Hour and Good Day Bermuda. Download the app, available for Android and Apple devices. BCG Radio, your station for conversations and entertainment.
Welcome back to Good Day Bermuda, supported by Pizza House and Aliana's Restaurant. I'm Terri Tuku alongside Jackie Lambert. If you're just joining us today, we discuss TV sitcoms, sequels, and spin-offs. We talked about the fact that Fresh Prince of Bel-Air is coming back as a remake. It is, I think, premiering February 13th, Sunday on Peacock. We will be dropping the trailer that we saw on our social media platforms. So if you're not already following us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, make sure you do that at Good Day Bermuda on all of those platforms. And we talked about the drinking culture that exists at sporting events and how, you know, it's possible for us to not drink if we don't want to. And we support you if you don't want to. So right now we're going to get into our Feel Good Vibe of the day. And it's trivia time. I got 3 questions for you. Jackie, I'm going to start off easy. Audience, go ahead and try to beat Jackie. When I ask the question, try to write the answer in the comments before Jackie says it out loud. First one, this is about an action-adventure movie. Complete this telltale line from the movie 300. This is blank.
Sparta!
Yes, it is absolutely that. I was hoping you would do it like that. I was hoping you would give it a little bit of oomph. All right, so your favorite type of movie, horror movies.
Okay.
What 1999 movie is one of the first found video footage style horror movies? So, you know, found video footage, like, you know how we do vlog type videos. Yes. What 1999 movie is one of the first found video footage style horror movies, horror films?
Blair Witch Project?
Yes, girl!
Oh, so good, babe!
And it looks like Janae got Squatter with you.
Can I
Karen
tell you
Simmons got Blair Witch Project. So did Jason, and so did Carlton. Go ahead.
real quick before, so I can tell you this story? We were all at our house. We were watching Blair Witch Project, and there's a scene where the witch runs across the camera. When that happened, my dad thought it would be funny to run across the sliding glass doors. So we just saw this person run across. We all lost our and like we're running, scattering around the house. Just like in the movie.
Your dad is hilarious. Last one, we ended on a comedy note.
Okay.
So, what sign off does Anchorman Ron Burgundy use?
I haven't watched Anchorman in so long.
What sign off does Anchorman Ron Burgundy use? I'm trying to give the audience the opportunity to say it. I'll give you a hint. He ends it with the name of the city where he's in.
I don't even remember what city he's in. What's it? San Francisco? No, it's not San Francisco.
It is a sand, though. It's not San Francisco, but it's a sand. And Janae says she should know this, but it looks like Jason Shirley got it. He says, "You stay classy, San Diego."
I gotta go back and watch it because that used to be.
I love that moment. That's like my favorite moment in the movie. You stay classy, San Diego. As always, Jackie and I hope that today's Feel Good Vibe of the day has you ready to make it a great one. Thank you so much for watching and engaging with us on this episode of Good Day Bermuda. I'm supported by Pizza House and Aliana's Restaurant. I'm Terri Tuku alongside Jackie Lambert. We trust we'll see you tomorrow for more Feel Good conversations. Until the next episode, peace and have a good day, Bermuda.